Good afternoon and welcome to Carlam Cymru revision sessions. This session will focus on GCSE Business Studies and will be presented by Alison Lacey of Harden High School. The session will last around 3/4 of an hour, where the teacher will go through the relevant subject content. If you have any questions, please use the question and answer section, and we will endeavour to answer your questions during the session. The session will be recorded, with the recording and any relevant resources uploaded to the e-sgol website in the Carlam Cymru area.
Okay, right. Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming back for session 2 of the business. So we didn't finish off last lesson with regards to business activity. So I'm going to finish that off and then go on to influences on business. I haven't put everything with influences on business on here, but I'll just go through what the session is focused on. So we're going to be looking at business aims and objectives, business location, business growth, business planning, business ethics, technology and environmental factors with influences on business. So we're first of all going to look at business aims and objectives, and the same as last week, I'm using the WJEC knowledge sheets, which you can find on the WJEC website. Just really handy to kind of condense your notes, especially if you maybe been missing some lessons, or maybe that your book isn't as presentable as you would like it. So looking at business aims and objectives. So what is an aim? Well, an aim is your long-term goal of a business, and then your objective is something that's shorter, medium-term goal of the business. So aims, you may have heard the term SMART, need to be smart, and the acronym SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timed. Or achievable can also be agreed as well within the business. Everybody in the group, a business needs to agree that that is an achievable target to meet. So I went over what an objective is, but it's an objective needs to be set in order to reach its aims. So an objective might be to increase sales by 20% in the next 5 years potentially, but it's kind of got to show some sort of measure. It has to be attainable, realistic, and it needs to be set within a time frame. So aims for profit. What do businesses tend to aim for? Well, definitely in the first couple of years is generally survival. Lots of businesses will not make a profit in the first 1 to 2 years, and maybe start making a profit in the 3rd and 4th year. So it's about maybe surviving that initial period, and a lot of businesses fail within the first year. Profit maximisation. It could be also another aim. It could be increased sales and revenue. It could be increased market share. So your market share is what control you have of the sales within that particular market. Growth, expansion maybe you want to turn into a franchise potentially. Now franchising isn't going to be in your exam because that's been taken out the spec, but that is one way a business can grow. Improve reputation. It might be to improve quality, it might be to be more environmentally friendly or ethical, or it might be to provide jobs in the local community. So they could be for aims for a potential profit organisation. The aims for non-profit, so that's kind of businesses that don't really sort of push for making profit, is it could be that they obviously serve the community, not the community. There's ethical aims. Maybe they want to do something for the environment. They might want to provide a service. So if we think about Welsh Water, that is a non-profit organisation, and it's they don't make a profit on their service. To avoid wasteful duplication of resources. It could be to control strategic industries, it could be to prevent exploitation by monopoly suppliers, and it could be to help people in need that might need it. Okay, so why do some businesses decide to sort of remain small? Well, some businesses don't want to grow, and it might be due to the owner's ambitions. So it's very stressful. growing a business, so the owner might not actually want that stress. You've got financial limitations, it might be access to resources. Small businesses can survive on relatively low cost structure, so you could do it from home. You know, you have no stock holding costs, etc. If you start to grow, then obviously you are going to maybe need to buy premises, which obviously are going to be something that's going to be costly. Some services have a niche market and there's actually no scope to growth. So, you know, there's no actual sort of room to grow in that particular market. Many services can be delivered more effectively on a smaller scale, so like hairdressers, personal trainers, things like that. Some consumers like to purchase goods from specialised suppliers and outlets, small store, so they want something maybe unique. They don't want something mass produced, and that might be the sort of the industry that business is wanting to stay in. Small business can adapt quicker as well than larger businesses, so they can really adapt how they work, whereas with a larger business that would be something that is more difficult. Okay. You may obviously know that, I'm hoping you'll know the words and terms stakeholders, okay, and that's obviously different to a shareholder. A shareholder can be a stakeholder, okay, but not, it's everybody to do with the business that's affected by the business, the actions. So that can be customers, it can be workers, it can be the government, pressure groups, local community, suppliers, lenders or investors, owners and competitors. Okay, so it could be any of those people, could be a stakeholder in that particular business. If we look at an exam question to do with that. So this is, I think might be from the 2018 paper, I'm trying to think now, is Wilson McGregor PLC is a construction company specialising in building new homes in the UK. The business needs to set itself smart objectives to measure performance. So compose a possible smart objective for Wilson McGregor PLC. So what I'd like you to do is pause the video here and have a go at answering that 2-mark question. Okay, so if we're going to have a little look at the actual mark scheme for that, okay. So it's saying it's 2 marks here. So what you need to be making sure of is that you're maybe making and expanding on a point. So award 1 mark for being measurable. So for example, you know, sales revenue by 20%. It could be to increase profit by 10%, and then 1 mark for it being timed. So it would be to increase sales revenue by 20% in 2019. It could be to increase profit by 5% in 2020, whatever it might be. So it kind of needs to be something that is measurable and attainable and time specific. Now we saw this last lesson. What was it? No, actually, we're going to be seeing this this question sort of in a few slides' time. So Judith Rutherford, and this is from 2015, has been made redundant. Oh no, we did see this one. Actually, we did see this one last time, didn't we? Because I went through a model answer for you. Okay, so we've seen the scenario before. Producing blind, she's been made redundant. She's got many skills, both in the factory and in the office, and her locality, there are fairly high levels of employment, so the chances of finding another job are limited. Judith decides to set up her own business as a sole trader, selling current curtains and blinds. So what I'd like you to do is ignore the entrepreneur, the entrepreneur one, because I think we did that last time. So I would like you to have a go at question B, which is that Judith had to deal with a number of stakeholders. Pause the video here and have a go at answering that question. Okay, so let's have a little look at the stakeholders. We looked at an entrepreneur last time, so I'm not going to go through that one again. It's more this one that we're looking at. So suggesting 2 stakeholders Judith might have, how would Judith's business be affected by each stakeholder? Okay, so it's 4. So you need to suggest 2 stakeholders and the effects on the business. So customers, so you could say something like customers, that they would want the best quality, the best design, maybe material from the products bought, and if they don't get it, they may not buy the products again, or they might give bad reviews. Workers, making sure they're treated fairly, paying conditions. You may not be able to find employees which are hardworking and skillful. Government, you've got pressure groups, you've got local community, suppliers, lenders, owners, lots of different things there. The thing here is just to make sure that you make a point of who the stakeholder is going to be and then how that's going to affect the business. So using that term therefore is going to be really useful. Okay, so we're looking at business location next. Okay, so looking at location and site. So what is location and site? Well, that's a location is a geographical area where business may be found whilst the site is in a specific place within the geographical area. So factors that you need to consider like things like costs, availability of the shop, sustainability of the shop, infrastructure, you know, thinking about roads in and out, thinking about parking, that kind of thing. So if, for example, you know you're going to have lots of deliveries of very, very big trucks, then you need to think about the road access to your facility, because obviously some roads won't actually be good for actually big HGV driver lorries coming down. So you need to be thinking about those. You need to be thinking about footfall. So that means like how many passing customers you're going to be having. So why locating near a competitor is not always a good thing. So small businesses maybe not be well known. So if you, for example, a small carpet shop and you went next to Carpetright, you know, people are maybe more likely to go to Carpetright because they know the name, they know the brand. Similar businesses may have a wider range of goods, especially if they're a bigger business. And also because they're a bigger business, they might have the luxury of having economies of scale, which is when the more you buy, the less you kind of pay per unit. So if you are a big business, you will have more control over economies of scale than you would be as a small business. A small business may have lower prices. Similar business may have lower prices as we were talking about, and then potential of lower sales because it's difficult to attract customers because it's basically the market's being overflowed in that area. So those things need to be thought of. Okay, so factors to consider when locating a business. So positive factors. Cost of rent. So rents for out of town sites are often cheaper than less than other sites in town centres. However, that is going to be a disadvantage there, the fact that you're probably going to get less footfall. Transport links, easy access for customers. You know, is there a car park? Is it off a main road? Is it close to a bus stop? Easy access for deliveries, competition, other businesses. You know, are there other businesses around you, so that maybe you would maybe get more passing trade. And you've got common services such as security, waste disposal nearby. Negative factors to think about when deciding a business location is your competition, making sure that obviously that's not going to be too close. Congestion. So if you're putting a business in an area where there's going to be a lot of congestion, where there's going to be a lot of traffic, although you might think, oh, well, there's a lot of passing trade. However, if there's a lot of traffic to get there, people are often put off by it because they don't want to sit in the traffic and they don't want to actually spend the time in traffic jams in order to get to your shop. So that needs to be thought about. Distance to travel for customers might be too far. And also looking at the availability of public transport as well. You know, is there a bus stop nearby? Maybe it's more expensive locations than other locations. So town centres quite often are obviously more expensive than out of town areas. And must conform to standards of other businesses. So design of the shop, and you need to think about, you know, depending on what kind of shop you are, what you might have in there. So if you're doing a clothing shop, you're going to want to have changing rooms in there. You need to be thinking about these factors. Discuss the potential effects that retail park shopping centres might have on a nearby traditional local shopping area. So have a little read through those, but similar kind of things that what we kind of talked in the factors, but you can pause the video and you can read through that yourself. Okay, looking at some exam questions. So due to the success of the business, Isabel is looking to open a second shop. Now, Isabel is, I don't think we've done Isabel, actually. I'm trying to think. We definitely will be doing Isabel in a little bit. So I forgot to put the scenario up for you. But Isabel is a dress owner, shop owner, like Bella's boutiques. And she, I think, specialises in wedding dresses and prom dresses and kind of things like that. So you're going to need to think about it as a dress shop. That's the business. So when you're answering this question, think of that in this. Now it's 4 marks. You have to describe 2 factors. So you need to be talking about using that maybe therefore and what effect that's going to have on the business. So pause the video and I'd like you to spend some time having a little go at this 4-mark question. Okay, so let's have a little look at this here. Okay, so you're getting 2 marks for AO1, which is knowledge, and 2 marks for AO2, which is your putting it to a context. Now it's a clothing shop, so you need to be making sure that you're awarding it to Isabella's dress business. So one thing you could have said was costs of rent property. Her business is only 1 year old. Okay, so this was put in the scenario that obviously I forgot to put up for you. So it's only 1 year old. So is she able to afford a prime site? Is she able to actually afford that? Target market items are likely to be expensive, so she needs to be near the target market, suitable for customers. Number of customers passing trade footfall to increase awareness of her new shop could have been something that you put in. Accessibility for customers on foot in car parks, car parking needed. Now, as we said, yeah, it's likely to be difficult to transport a wedding dress, and it's likely to be difficult to transport a prom dress because they're very, very big dresses. So most people are going to want to pick up a wedding dress or a prom dress or something like that in a car. So they're going to need some car parking, so that's going to need to be thought about. It could be that the size of the site, so is there room for changing rooms? So you're saying size of the site, but then specifically saying why she would need to think about the size of her site, and that's where you're getting the AO2 mark there. So you're really kind of bringing it into the actual scenario. It could be competitive proximity, closeness to competitors. Okay, so is she going to be too close to other wedding dress shops or prom shops? Is there personal reasons on the main route, easy access from her other shop to reduce travel time potentially? Okay, so you know, it would have got any other credible answer, but again, you have to make sure that you're bringing it to Isabel's shop. Okay, so looking at business growth, so different ways in which businesses can grow. So why do some businesses decide to grow? Well, increase market share, increase sales, potential economies of scale. Now, I did talk about that a little bit ago, looking at reducing costs. So the bigger your business, the less you pay per unit, because you're obviously ordering more, and that's economies of scale. It could be to gain a competitive advantage, or it could be an opportunity to spread risk. Now, internal growth, which is also called organic growth, where a business grows by increasing the size of the business, by increasing maybe sales, revenue, profits, workforce. Why advantages of this is, well, it's less risky than external growth. It can be financed through internal funds, builds on a business existing strengths, and allows the business to grow in a more sensible rate in the long run. Disadvantages, though, it can take a long time. It requires the owner to reinvest profits into the business. Growth may be dependent on the growth of the overall market. So if that's slow, it's, you know, the internal growth might be slow. And it's hard to build market shares if a business is already a leader in that particular field. External growth, this involves increasing the size of a business by buying other businesses. So it could be merging, could be taking over when another kind of gets control of another. You've got faster growth, speed of access to new products and markets, increase market share, market power, economies of scale again, make us use the strengths of each business and invest in faster growing emerging markets. However, disadvantage there is that a merger or takeover don't always work, and sometimes it is difficult to make two businesses work as one. You can result in creating bad feeling between new workforces, and if the cultures of the two businesses may be very different, it might be again quite difficult to merge those two. Key term there is diversification. So this allows a business to enter markets in addition to the one they're already involved in, and you kind of diversify, if you like. How can the size of a business be measured? Well, you've got three things. You could measure the value of the sales. You could value the business, how much business is worth, or you can evaluate on the number of employees, because like things like the NHS, for example, it's very hard to measure that as a size of a business, because it's not runs as a normal business would do. So you might measure that with the number of employees. Then you've got effect of a takeover on various stakeholders. So, you know, what the effect would be on workers. There would be lots of jobs, new skills might be needed, higher incomes, relocation, things like that. Customers, maybe that you've got less choice. It might be a bigger business and you've got economy of scales, which means lower prices. It might be less development or innovation. And then you've got shareholders, and again, looking at economies of scale, higher dividends, error in takeover, fall in share value, and things like that. Okay, so different types of integration. Okay, now you've got vertical forward integration. Okay, horizontal integration, you've got vertical backwards integration. So vertical forward integration occurs when a business takes over another business to control direct distribution of the business. So, for example, Kenco may be buying McDonald's in order for them to just kind of sell their product. Horizontal integration is a buyer or merger of another business producing the same or similar products. So, like Kenco buying Nescafe and then merging together. And vertical backwards is when your business will take over the supplier. So Kenco would buy maybe a coffee bean farm. Now, this is a great word, and my year 11s will laugh at me because I can never ever say it. Conglomerate integration. It's just one of those words you cannot say. And this occurs when businesses join with another at different production processes. So, you know, you've got basically a company that will, you know, have their fingers in many pies. So like Samsung, they do lots of different businesses. Disney, they do lots of different businesses. You know, and it's not just in one area. Benefit from owning businesses at different stages of the production process, where you've got control of the production, then you have, you know, quality and quantity, and you can decide on how much of the product. You can control over costs, you can control over sales, you can take money at each stage of the production. You've got economies of scales there, and you've got diversification where you're reducing risks. So we talked about economies of scales and why that is, you know, good to have, right? And then sort of you've got this little anagram here that might be quite useful for you. All right, so looking at business planning now, I'm going to get through it as much as I can. Okay, so business planning, you've got revenues and costs. Business plan, why do you need the one? Well, if you were to get a bank loan, they would require a business plan. It's good to plan out what your business's aims are, your objectives, and how you're obviously going to meet those and what your forecasts are. It will show how the business is going to run. You've got market research in there to make sure that obviously your product and keeping that up to date is going to be really, really key to the success of your business. So contents of a business plan will be things like aims and objectives, and mission statements, financial section, and then you've got cash flow, projected sales costs. You might have the owner's CV in there. You might have the type of ownership it is. So is it a sole trader? Is it a partnership? Is it going to be a private limited company? Assess the liability versus the advantages and disadvantages of running the business. You've got marketing, you know, what are you going to do in order to promote the business, and what the marketing mix is, and what selling prices are, market research that you've done, location and premises, financial information that you are going to need to show that that business is going to make profit. Got turnover, which is also called revenue. So this is the value of sales, income, revenue of a business. Okay, so this is the selling price and the quantity sold. Ways to improve turnover are things like increasing your price. Reducing the price also might actually increase it because more people might buy it. So that could actually increase your turnover. And it could be increased by promotion advertising, might attract more sales. Then you've got things like fixed costs. So these are things that are not going to change, and no matter how many goods you actually sell, they will not change. So things like rent, things like maybe the monthly lease on equipment, maybe business rates. Variable costs are things that will change depending on the output. So it could be raw materials, it could be wages, it could be electricity and gas, because obviously the more that you're making, the more utility bills you're going to need. Your total cost is like your fixed costs and your variable costs put together, and then your profit is your total revenue minus your total costs and whatever you've got left over. Obviously, if you're in a minus, that is then a loss and not a profit. So exam questions on business planning. I'm trying to obviously get a few exam questions in at every point that I possibly can. So apart from market share, name 2 other pieces of information that Isabel should include in her business plan. Okay, so if you can pause the video and have a little look at answering that question. So the answers should have been things like business aims and objectives, mission statements, product, service, cash flow, financial section, even if you want to kind of really put like a general term, financial, it could be a marketing section as well, profit and loss, break even, type of work, type of ownership, marketing strategy, things like that would be accepted. Right, okay, so that was business activity. I'll try to get through that as quick as I can. I'm just going to have a little look and see what time it is. So we've got about 20 minutes left, so I'm going to try and get through as much as I can on the business influences on business activity as much as I can. So we've got business ethics that we're going to be covering first. So what is business ethics? Well, you've got ethical policy. So this is like setting out whether you think business, what they do is morally right or wrong. So the decisions and actions are ethical. So is it morally right or wrong what they are doing? So it involves businesses doing what is more, as we say, morally right or wrong for its stakeholders. So why do businesses have strong ethical policies? Well, you've got maybe the ideology of the owner and what they want from the business. It could be consumer pressure and what they want, meeting government targets, for example. It could be to avoid bad publicity, concern for employees with need for safety working environment, fair play and treatment. It could be concern for producers for fair trade. So different ways to operate ethically. You've got fair trade products. So this is where you would pay higher prices to people. You know, if we think about fair trade chocolate, you know, quite often we might pay quite poorly the people that produce cocoa and cocoa beans. So the idea is that those people will be paid more with fair trade products. You're maybe using biodegradable and recyclable packaging. That's a massive thing at the minute, and supermarkets are really trying to reduce how much they waste and how much single-use plastic is being used. Giving away food away to charities, marketing, treatment of workers, animal welfare, like making sure that animals being treated humanely, less packaging, reducing CO2 emissions. If we think about Amazon and how they're having a big push on electric vehicles at the moment. Ways in which a business can deem as acting unethically. So Means like not behaving in a morally correct manner might be treating staff unfairly, not paying correct wages, could be not recycling, being unkind to the environment, maybe pumping things into the environment that shouldn't be, exploiting small businesses. It could be looking at using child labour in other countries, or suppliers that they have knowing that they use child labour. Could be animal rights. If we look at what that is, making sure that animals are being treated humanely. Social responsibility, which is an approach of managing a business in which the interests of all groups of society is taken into account when decisions are being made. And then you've got protest results from unethical behaviour. Could mean customers with ethical principles could be put off. Competitors may benefit as customers switch from non-ethical businesses to ethical businesses. Businesses may be forced to behave in a more ethical manner. Poor reputation and supplies to be obtained. Okay, so you've got lots of different things with business ethics. So an exam question that came up, I think this is 2019. You've probably maybe come across it. Certainly my year 11s have probably done this question to death. Is this one, okay? And we've seen Bella's Boutiques and a couple of questions up at the top. This is the 8-mark question that kind of came with this question. So Bella Boutiques is owned and run by Isabella Davis, a sole trader in Cobway Bay, North Wales. The business has only been operating for 1 year and specialises in wedding dresses, bridesmaid dresses, prom outfits and women's accessories. The business has been successful, and Isabel won New Entrepreneur of the Year in 2018's Local Business Awards. Isabel believes part of her success is because she runs an ethical business. This includes using fair trade suppliers and treating workers fairly. Discuss the advantages and disadvantages to Bella's Boutiques of being ethical business. So you can pause it, have a go. Remember, try and make sure that you're doing AO1, which is your knowledge, AO2, which is your context, so bringing the business into your answer. And AO3 is how you're writing it. Okay, so making sure you're paragraphing, spelling, punctuation, capital letters, and making sure you're doing a nice flowing paragraphs. Okay, so pause the video, have a go, and see what you can come up with. Right, so I'm going to do a little bit of a Blue Peter moment. We're going to have first of all, we'll have a little look at part of the marking grid that we get as markers or teachers, so you can see where the bandings come. So 0 will be no knowledge and understand. Basically, you haven't written anything pretty much. Looking at band 1, we know with band 1 you could get up to 3 marks from an 8-mark question. So you've got limited knowledge, you've got limited application, and you've got limited discussion. So if you're just bullet pointing your answer here, that's probably where you'd come in a band 1. Band 2 is sort of 2, 4, 6, 7 marks potentially. So good application knowledge, good application of business ethics, so Bella's Boutiques. So it's referencing to women's clothing fashion industry. That's the key there. Good discussion of advantages or disadvantages for Bella Boutiques of being ethical. Writing is generally well structured, reasonably accurate grammar, punctuation, spelling. So it doesn't have to be perfect, but it's got to have a reasonable sort of flow to it. Band 3, that there's no band 3 marks for AO1 and AO2. You can kind of get those, and the more of it's AO3. So it's an excellent discussion of advantages and disadvantages. Writing is very well structured, using accurate grammar, punctuation, and spelling. Well reasoned and balanced discussion with clear line of argument. Okay, so I would probably say the next example that I'm going to give you that is, I would probably say in the top end band 2, potentially going into band 3 if maybe I'd added a few more things into this with discussion. But certainly in a band 2, maybe 6 marks, potentially 7 marks. Okay, so I've started off here with there are many advantages and disadvantages to being an ethical business. The first advantage is that it enables Bella Boutiques to attract customers as they become more aware of ethical issues within the fashion industry. So I've said this sort of like attracting customers is your AO1. Okay, so AO1. and then more ethical issues within the fashion industry. So I'm referencing the fashion industry, which is your AO2. Okay. People are starting to come away from throwaway fashion. Again, looking here, again, AO1 and AO2 here about throwaway fashion and fashion that is made in countries where labour is cheap and child labour might be used. Okay, so I'm looking at AO2 here. I'm referencing the fashion industry. They want to buy from businesses that have the same ideology as themselves, and this can give Bella Boutiques a very good image. Okay, so however, there is a danger. So we're looking here, we've kind of gone again, AO1, AO3. I've given a point. I've then, however, discussing that there is a flip side to that. So there's something else, you know, there's always generally another opinion to it. So however, there is a danger that with becoming an ethical business, they need to make sure that every part of the business is ethical. Okay, so that is a good sort of AO1 and AO3, because I've said that, you know, made a point. However, there is a disadvantage to it. They need to ensure that all material that is being supplied by the suppliers are from, so I've said material here. Okay, that is AO2 because I'm referencing, in fact, it's going to be fashion. Supplied by the suppliers are from an ethical source. When buying abroad, this could be very difficult because they do not have full control of where the material comes from. Again, AO1, AO2, AO3, generally just talking about fashion and the fashion industry. So this is what you need to do with the big questions, is really think about what is this business and getting it all the way into threaded throughout your answer. If the boutique is found to have unethical suppliers and they are promoting themselves as an ethical business, therefore this could give them a bad publicity, which would not be good for the business and damage their reputation. Okay, so I probably say I could have written that a little bit better. I've missed an E off therefore, etc. So I think that last little bit probably would let me down in that and kind of maybe make sure that was in the second band. Another advantage of being an ethical business is that they should be treating their workers fairly. Okay, so again, I know that treating workers fairly and paying them a higher wage. So that's your AO1. So I know that that is part of business ethics. This would in turn improve morale of shop workers and individual performance, as they know they are working for a company that cares for them as an individual. Therefore, this would influence the business's performance with potentially more dress sales. So we're getting AO2 in there and staff that will work harder for the business. However, being ethical is going to cost the business more. So again, we're looking at AO3 and AO1. Yes, you're going to have to pay higher wages and pay more for ethically produced material and dresses. So again, I'm bringing in AO2 here of ethically sourced material and dresses. This is going to reduce profits, even though she can charge a higher price for her dresses. She will not want to price herself out of the market and not have competitive prices for her clothes. Again, AO2. Okay, so can you see how I'm sort of threading the AO1 throughout, so know what I'm talking about. Then adding in the context of the answer, so the context of the question. Make sure you know what business you're talking about. Make sure as you are writing it, you're slotting in, you know, the name of the company, but not just the name of the company, because I know a lot of people, students, make that mistake. They just literally use the name of the company and then they think that's enough to get AO2 marks. But it's not. You need to be making sure, right, this is a fashion industry, right, I need to talk about fashion and material and clothes throughout my answer, and how maybe the fashion industry works. Sometimes, you know, we all wear clothes, we all have an idea of what the fashion industry is like. I'm no expert on the fashion industry, but I know that obviously there's things with regards to cheap labour in other countries, that there's child labour in other countries. I can use that within my answer. So it's just making sure that in these bigger long questions, especially if obviously you are aiming for A's and B's, this is where you need to be making your mark with these questions. and getting those, because as we know, there's 24 marks available from AO3, and AO3 is where you're getting it from the bigger answer questions. Okay, so obviously just wanted to go through another example of how to write a longer answer. Okay, so looking at influences and business activity with your technology. I've got 5 minutes left, so I'll try and get through this as quickly as possible. So you've got things like how can it be used in business for your communication, marketing, stock control, record keeping, spelling and research. I mean, over the last few years with the pandemic, you know, technology has massively changed the way that we work. I would not be surprised that in your exam you would have something about potentially COVID-19 and how it's changed businesses. I'd be very surprised if they didn't use an example, to be honest with you. However, you know, it's not guaranteed. But it has massively changed the landscape of how people work in businesses. You know, teleworking is massive now, working from home, using technology, you know, where we didn't have the infrastructure before the pandemic, but because we've had to adapt with everything, we've had to be diverse. We've got CAD. So CAD allows designers to produce new products, 3D models displayed on computer screens. So this is great for speeding up design. Alternative design can be explored, and it's not going to cost anything to make it. You can produce drawings of finished goods and parts. You can view finished goods before it's manufactured. Testing, you can link to CAM, which is computer aided manufacturing. And then you've got cost of setting up machinery is a disadvantage. Machinery, training workers and things like that. Then you've got computer aided manufacturing. So you use computers to operate robots and other machines and production lines. So it can be linked with CAD. Measurements can be easily transferred to manufacturing process. You've got less scope for error in production. You can use it in mass production, flow production, and you're going to need fewer workers. Disadvantages though, cost of setting up, and reputation of business in making redundancies because you're taking on and using technology can be a problem. CAD is great for like things like kitchen design, where you can actually see, in a business you can actually see what it actually is going to look like in the space, which is really handy for you know, customers knowing and seeing what it's going to look like. Why would workers be concerned of introducing a technology? Well, you're gonna potentially have loss of jobs. You're gonna have maybe promotion opportunities being reduced. You're gonna maybe have lower morale because they're worried, because workers are worried about losing the jobs. It could be fewer hours, so you're not getting paid as much. You maybe need to re-familiarise yourself with technology, and you know, especially older workers might really have issues with that because they might be afraid of the new technology. Got maybe health risks because some of the new technology and new machinery might be quite dangerous, and then you've got new skills maybe gained, which could lead to higher pay. Okay, so quickly do an exam question around CAD. So Dell and Packaging are going to introduce computer aided design CAD to produce designs for the new plastic food packaging. Suggest and explain one benefit to the business of using computer aided design, and explains why the workers at Dell and Packaging may be concerned by the introduction of new technologies such as computer aided design. So if you'd like to pause the video and have a go at those two questions. The answers to those is one benefit, and again you're looking at using, there's two answers here, you're looking at therefore with this, so reduce the costs and improve the quantity and the main benefits. There are a number of sort of different examples, so it could be that speeds up designs and you're able to see alternative designs can be considered. It might be simpler to edit. Reducing drawings of finished goods, no need to build models, which means it's going to reduce costs. To view the finished goods before manufactured to find the best design, therefore improves quality and accuracy of the design. It could be that testing and materials and design to reduce errors and reduce costs. Anything along those lines would be accepted. Then you've got why are they going to be maybe worried about new technology, the employees. So So there might be redundancies, so technology may replace the need for workers, therefore fewer workers are going to be required. Promotion opportunities may be reduced, therefore you're going to have a smaller workforce. Low morale because of lack of security, lack of job security. Are they worried about, you know, whose job is next? Fewer hours, therefore you're going to have a reduced rate of pay. Maybe you need to familiarise yourself with technology, therefore you need to be trained. And then health risks, so technology could be dangerous and things like that. Okay, so that is, I think it's about 6 o'clock now. Yeah, 6 o'clock. So we'll leave it there. I have got a few others to kind of go through with you, but I'll leave that for next week for you. And we'll start next week on looking at environmental factors of influences on business activity.